on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. 97.5 KZNS FM Colville, 1280 KZNS AM Salt Lake City, and KSL FM HD2 Salt Lake City Midvale. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. JJ's all decked out. You got to do it. Look, you're doing the Lord's work over here, buddy. Doing some taping right before the show.
It never ends.
Then we do the show, and then you got to go do more TV.
It's all right. It's fun. It's a good time of year.
You don't even get to be in Paris. You got to do all this extra work. I assume that those guys are just hanging out, taking a quick dip in the Seine River, and then popping out, crunching on some croissant, and then I assume going to all the fun events that they want to go to, and then hitting the bed early because you want to sleep in because you're kind of on vacation. Isn't that how they covering the Olympics goes?
I think they had 31 hours of programming
I saw
in 2 days. It's been pretty crazy. Obviously, historic. We haven't had a chance to talk about
it's fresh.
The big announcement. We'll get to it.
I get to tell you where I was watching the announcement on Tuesday, aka Wednesday night, Wednesday morning. But yes, joining us on the program right now from France, he is Sam Farnsworth. Sam Farnsworth, did we dial 10-10-321 to be able to dial you up? Is that how we save money on international calls that way? Oh, we keep dropping. Phone call keeps dropping. Maybe we should have used AT&T's 10-10-321.
How are the T-Mobile towers in Paris right now?
I don't know.
It's 11:05 p.m.
Yeah. That's how I remember. It's exactly 8 hours from here to Paris. Like the time squish. And so I know how tired Sam is because I received, and I don't know, I mean, you know this. There's a couple of Alexes in this building, all right? There's one across the glass from us right now because Alex is filling in for Jeremy this week. I'm Alex. Alex Cabrero and I have been working here Alex is probably 25 years going on here, right?
Oh, yeah, he's been here longer than me.
Alex is probably 25 years. For the last 20 years, I've received Alex Cabrero's emails because they're like, hey, Alex, just a quick drop, just a quick line here. And I'm like, wrong, Alex. I get that. Sam Farnsworth did it to me the other night.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, here's some pictures from today. Stuff they were shooting around town. And I was like, hey, wrong, Alex, bro. And he's like, oh, and he gets it because he goes, yeah, this will only happen for now through the rest of eternity. So I'll apologize for it, but at the same time, it will happen more. You got a couple of Alexes in your phone if you work in this building. All right. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. And we're going to kick off the show as we always do at the cut. Let's jump in right here, and hopefully we'll get to Sam. We'll at least talk about some Olympics before we get him on the program here. So let's jump in right here. It is the cut.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, trying to get Sam Farnsworth on the horn here. I will tell you. So I told you I made the mistake, or it was a blessing in disguise. However you want to look at it. My phone starts dinging, and I'm a light sleeper. My phone started. I, for some reason, have the ringer on, and I never do, and it starts being like, bing, at like 2:20 or 2:30 the other night, and I went, oh, yeah. It was an alarm, actually, on my phone. It just said pancake breakfast downtown.
We talked about how
I did not,
excited we were about the pancakes.
I did not go downtown to get the pancake, but I did start watching all the coverage. So I had two things going on. I had my phone in front of me, and then I turned on the TV because Channel 5 had the full programming. Yeah. You guys had the full live broadcast of the IOC and the whole thing. And
in
then
the middle of the night. How cool is that?
I know, and we're watching, but then I was also, my phone, I had the, what do we call it, Facebook Live? One of the live things. And so I got to watch it that way. I'll get back to my story in just a moment here. Sam Farnsworth from Paris, France, joining us on the program now for the Paris 2024 Olympics as we get ourselves excited for the Salt Lake 2034 Olympics. How cool is it to be over there, Sam, first of all, and then how cool is it to have the announcement that we do officially get those Olympics in 2034?
It's cool and cool, I think, right?
Back to you. We appreciate it, Sam. We'll talk to you next week. Good talk, bro.
No, I mean, look, being out here, it really is very, very cool. And Jeremiah can tell you what it's like. Obviously, he had a little different circumstances being in Japan with COVID, right, and being kind of restricted in what he could do and where he could go. And out here, it's totally wide open again. But these first 3, 4, 5 days, however many it's been, I don't even know anymore. It's been a grind and not a lot of sleep over here, but it's been fun to be able to go to some of these events already. So far, it's been rugby for me, and that's really been cool. I mean, to be there on the world's biggest stage of the Olympics is amazing. And then, but to cover the event where they voted, I was in the room where they cast the official vote and announced that Salt Lake would be getting the games back, to watch the delegation that Utah brought with them, all seated there, their reactions. I mean, you had Jimmer Fredette in that group. You had Ryan Smith and Ashley Smith in the group right there. Gail Miller was there in the group as well. Derek Parra, former Olympian from 2002, two-time medalist from those games. He was there. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the people that Utah brought out here with them to be a part of this historic event and to react and to witness it firsthand as the Olympic Committee voted and approved Salt Lake City to host the 2034 games. So that was really amazing to see just the emotion and the reaction there, and to know that it's coming back. I mean, you think about, I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but you think about what the world of sports has done to our state of Utah since 2002. I think that, things like eventually now getting hockey, just all of these things that have happened over the past 20 years, you can probably tie it in one way or another to having a successful Olympic Games here in Utah. Now think of where it's going to go from here for the next 30 years, right? I think the 2034 Games is going to have that kind of effect and then some to what the sports momentum, Ryan Smith tweeted that out, the momentum of sports in Utah, it certainly is rolling in that direction for our state, and it's really cool to see.
Well, let's look ahead to that, 2034. It's like, it's in 10 years, so what? No, that's going to come pretty quick, right? And we've seen how fast the last 10 years has gone, so we know that's going to happen. But what are some of the things that we can expect, some of the things you've learned about, maybe some other observations you've had since being a part of that historic moment yesterday? What can we look forward to at 2034 that's going to get us excited and continue to put Utah on the map?
Just real thoughtful about that answer.
Did I ask too long of a question? Sam lost interest.
We're going to get him back on the horn here. When we're watching all this, I couldn't help but think, and part of the reason that I was up and watching the entire announcement happen live is I was like, oh, this is, obviously it was a slam dunk. I mean, it wasn't like when they were in the room casting the vote, they didn't do a full presentation from the Swedish delegation that lasted just as long as Salt Lake's did. Yeah. What they did was they had the presentation, which was phenomenally done, by the way. The entire IOC and everybody in the room was just like, dude, we're blown away by this. Like, this is a group that already knew they were going to be getting the Olympics likely, right? Mm-hmm. But they did the presentation. It was phenomenally done. Ty Burrell voiced over the entire presentation, the video portion of it. And then Fraser Bullock gets up there and he goes through it. To hear all those IOC guys going, we want to say welcome to Governor Cox and Mayor Mendenhall, and they go through the whole thing, and at the end, what took so long was they dove into the doping allegations of the Chinese swimmers that happened recently, which I think most people didn't even know was a thing, and our Congress ended up calling a congressional hearing, subpoenaing some of the that what you say, subpoenaing? Is that a verb?
It is now.
They've been, yeah. So they subpoenaed all these different members of the International Olympic Committee. And the Olympic Committee was like, hey, we have our own doping agency. Like, you guys getting in and starting to do your own investigation on how this works actually kind of slows things down for us. And if Salt Lake, if you're going to get the Olympics, so then the Salt Lake Games ends up being kind of a little bit of a bartering chip for the IOC to go, we will rip these games and the Los Angeles games. This is what they talked about. We'll rip these games and the Los Angeles games if your country is going to meddle to this extent. And I thought, man, like, then you start going, oh, wait, are we going to see this thing get pulled? I mean, is it a slam dunk? Now, in the end, they rolled it out and they said, hey, this is going to be Salt Lake 2034. And it was like using the Salt Lake Games as this political point to say, don't get involved in, we have it down pretty well. And the background is just as a quick one, those 23 Chinese swimmers that had been, that they tested positive for a substance, they traced it back to a contaminated food item that those athletes had eaten that was previously cleared but had a substance that was not allowed. So they went through and they go, look, we kind of screwed this up. It was not the athlete's fault. It was what they called like a because that's the athlete's big thing is it's like, oh, I ate a sandwich and it had the roids in it, whatever. And that's everybody's like defense, but they'll go through and they test everything. And they said, let us do our thing. And if the U.S. gets involved to that extent, we're going to be in a bad spot. And so they go through and it wasn't until just after 4 a.m. And I've been watching since 2:30 and I'm like, get to it already. But they just kept going like, we're now turning the time over to the Honorable Mr. So-and-so from the figure skating, head of, the entire games. And then they all did the same thing. Salt Lake, what an amazing presentation. However, if you do not follow the protocols, and so it turned into this weird thing. Sam Farnsworth, hopefully we got him over a more sophisticated situation with the Zoom calls. But Sam, I was just telling JJ that for as amazing as these games coming here and getting these games in 2034, the IOC made sure to make a point to say, hey, you've got to jump through some hoops when it comes to the U.S. getting involved in the the anti-doping stuff, because they were like, this is our thing, this is not your thing. That was kind of a long, right. It was a really long lead up to when they finally made the announcement. It was like an hour and a half of them kind of chiding the U.S. Political system and asking Salt Lake to sort of use that as a platform to say, hey, if you want these games that are going to bring $6.6 billion to your area, you've got to play by our rules, not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very interesting aspect to it all, right? I mean, basically they open it up to questions after the presentation and before the vote, right? They open it up to questions from the IOC members, and they didn't ask questions. They just made statements of, hey, we loved the presentation. We love that you guys are going to get this opportunity again. However, we want to make it very clear that we need you to comply with the World Anti-Doping Agency and all their rules and testing policies and things like that. And the funny thing is even before all of that, they were pretty clear in their presentation that they are supporters of WADA and all that they're, doing right now. So it was just a bunch of people, what it felt like, saying that, hey, you better fall in line. Otherwise, this won't go over well for the United States. Afterwards, they did open the mics back up, and Governor Cox mentioned that, hey, we're all on the same team here. We all want this to work. So you can trust us. Let us get to work to make sure it happens. That's interesting. These things are never as simple as you think.
Right. There's always politics
and all this stuff going on. So bottom line is we got the games in 2034, and that's pretty exciting. And I earlier was asking you, before we got cut off, what is it about 2034 that we can look forward to? Anything you heard in the last 24 hours that you thought was the most interesting, and what changes could happen? Anything that could happen between now and 2034? What is the thing that has you most excited about the 2034 Olympic Games?
Well, before a month or two before the vote, the IOC was out in Utah. They were kind of inspecting all of the facilities that Utah has, and there was just a lot of praise at how well kept up all of the facilities are from 2002. They've all been updated or have plans to be updated, and so they're still at a very high level for international competition. So you think of, okay, what does Utah have to do between now and 2034? It doesn't seem like there's a lot that they have to do, but there are things they are going to do. And I'm really curious, obviously, with the hockey team, the NHL team now coming to Utah, and the plans that Ryan Smith has for downtown Salt Lake City, how that might play a role in everything that they're doing. Of course, you want to have all that completed well before 2034 also. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly, all of those pieces fall into place with SEG and with the city and the government, and how quickly they get the downtown project completed. Because you'd think that a renovated new arena would play a big role in this upcoming Olympic Games. Outside of that, there hasn't been a lot of talk yet. You just see, I've seen some of the posts that, oh crud, now we really do have to get to work. We've got 10 years to make this happen and to make it fantastic, to make it better than it was last time, and the best Winter Games that the world has yet seen.
Sam, what was the, when everything was kind of said and done and the dust settled a little bit on it, what's the thing that really, and I think the facilities are a big part of it, but what's the other thing that kind of separates Salt Lake from some of these other cities that did make the bid?
Well, one thing that, maybe this is just my Utah bias coming in, but you got to love the proximity of all the venues, right? I mean, every ski resort in Utah is within an hour of the Wasatch Front at the most. Park City is only 40 minutes from downtown Salt Lake at the most, where you've got, the Winter Park with ski jumping and the luge and bobsled and all that as well. You got the Oval over there in Kearns, Curling's in Ogden. It's just everything is right there. And there's just something about the attraction of sports to Utah right now, right? We're all witnessing it with what Ryan Smith has done with hockey, with what the Millers are trying to do with Major League Baseball, with how basically this bid for the 2034 games was uncontested, because everyone's like, oh, Salt Lake's doing it. There's no way, there's no way we're going to win that bid with how well prepared they already are and how well they've been able to upkeep everything from 2002. And so, everything has just fallen into place, and for Utah to get these games. And I think it's going to be, obviously we still have a lot of time, 10 years, but it just feels like it's going to be really amazing, unlike any other Winter Olympics before, because that's what it was back in 2002. It was the best Olympics at the time, and still one of the best all-time Winter Games that have ever been put on. And so it just feels like there's no way Utah is going to fail to come through once again.
Yeah. As we look ahead to this Olympics and the focus on summer here, I want to ask you this. And you're looking at, you've obviously looked at a lot of the local athletes and what they're doing. But every Olympics, there's that one athlete that maybe we didn't know very well or didn't know at all that by the end of the Olympics is on a Wheaties box. Who is that athlete in this Olympic Games?
That's a great question. I don't know if you're right. 100%. There's going to be someone that we didn't know very well that's going to emerge and become the star. But when you first go into the Olympics, you're like, man, there's all this star power that you expect to rise and kind of steal the spot, or not steal the spotlight, but to be there in the spotlight again. Look at the men's national basketball team. I know that these last couple of warm-up games have been nail biters, but they are a loaded roster full of star power from the NBA, right? All-time greats are on that roster. You look at the women's gymnastics team, and with Simone coming back, and you totally expect her to steal the show when gymnastics is going on. And there's just all of that for me. And I know I'm kind of being a homer about this, but for me, I kind of feel like once 3-on-3 basketball gets going again, there's going to be a little bit of that old Jimmer mania that's going to kind of re-blossom and re-bloom in the United States. Jeremiah, you covered it firsthand, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how crazy it was. It wasn't just a local thing in Utah.
No, it was
that thing
not.
really spread across the country. It was massive what he was doing in college. And I think a lot of people are going to be reminded with stories that are going to be told when 3-on-3 basketball is going on about what he meant to college basketball at that time. And it's going to be almost like a resurgence on the global scale, because I feel like that 3-on-3 team has a great opportunity to bring home a gold medal. And so it's, for me, that's one of the storylines that I'm most excited about, that it just kind of feels like his name's going to be kind of popping back up into the spotlight, not only in Utah, but all over the country again.
There you go.
I think, people who've already been on the Wheaties box, so to speak, Katie Ledecky and Simone Biles, people are anticipating that they're going. And Simone Biles, obviously, the bounce back from the 2020 games for her, everybody's awaiting that, I think. I mean, what was it, in 2016, she had won 4 gold medals, and then she goes for a silver and a bronze in the last one. And then, of course, before she withdrew from a few of those events and kind of ran into that wall of, this was too much in that moment. And so what's the feeling now for those athletes like Katie Ledecky, who's like a 20-time world record breaking, athlete, and Simone Biles? What are they anticipated to do this round of games versus the ones they've had previous?
Well, for them, it's almost like there's nothing to lose, because you've already got your legacy cemented with how great you've been in the past. However, it kind of feels like this is your, this is it for both of them. I don't anticipate either of them being back in 4 more years. And so it's kind of like, okay, this is it. This is where you really, the last chance to write a chapter in your legacy and your career and what you have to do, or what you've been able to do. As great as Simone is, that's a pretty loaded U.S. team that will be able to push her for medals too. As great as Katie Ledecky is, there's a lot of competition out there as well. So it just feels like this is kind of the last hurrah. I think they know it. Does that add any extra pressure, even though they've succeeded at this level before? I don't know. We're going to find out real soon when they get out and perform. But this is it. This is their last chance to I guess, right off into the sunset on the world stage with some medals. And so there's got to be a little bit of pressure behind that, but we've seen them rise to the occasion before, and I would expect nothing less for them to do it again.
And because of our interest in the NBA and in basketball, we'll be following the basketball side of things pretty closely. And you mentioned 3x3 with Jimmer, but the 5-on-5 team is going to have a lot of eyeballs on it with LeBron James and company. But they weren't exactly stellar in their 5 warm-up games. How concerned should we be about USA basketball? And is there a team like France or someone else that could knock them off their perch?
There certainly is. There are. What year was it when Argentina won?
04.
I think it was Argentina
in Greece.
That won a gold. 04.
Yep.
Right. Ever since then, it's been like any country can win this now. And I saw someone. I wish I knew the exact number off the top of my head right now, but I saw someone mention the difference in international NBA players from the Dream Team in '92, which was like 6 outside of the American team. Right. There was like 6 other international players in the NBA, something like that in '92, to what it's at now, which is like 50 or 60 or something like that. And, it's not necessarily that, and we've seen in the past where the U.S. men's team is kind of like some of the stars have passed on the Olympics, like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And they've kind of thrown some teams out there that maybe weren't the best for USA basketball. This roster this year, this is really pretty much the best for USA basketball, but it doesn't, like, the competition out there is way better than it was in '92 or even in '02 and '04, right? So there's legit chances that the U.S. can go out there and fall short against, a France team that's got a lot of talent. Who knows? Maybe Australia still has something in the tank. Canada's got a great roster, right? So there's a lot of countries out there that sure, they could knock the U.S. off their perch. But I kind of feel like this roster, even though they've had these close games, these tune-up games, they know what it takes. There's champions on that roster. There's Hall of Famers on that roster. They know what it takes when the time is here to rise to the occasion and to play great basketball and win basketball. It just feels like this roster, they're built to win this thing. And if they don't, it would be a massive disappointment.
Sam Farnsworth, never disappointing. Sam, of course, from Paris, live. I guess
except for when my phone call drops all the time on you guys.
Well,
I blame T-Mobile or whoever.
No, I blame our bosses. It goes all the way up to the top on this.
Oh wow,
one.
That's bold.
We've got to get those. We got to get all of those phones dialed in, and and until we can get those phones dialed in, Salt Lake, we'll give you the games for now. But if you don't get that phone situation figured out, you will have the games ripped from you. So there you go. All right, Sam, we'll be chatting with you again over the next couple of weeks here, and we're excited about it.
Yeah.
We're glad to be hanging out with you, and I know it's getting close to midnight there, so go to bed on one of those. Are you on the cardboard bed too? Is that the deal?
Look, I'll tell you what, every hotel bed for me feels like a cardboard bed when I wake up and can't walk for the first 10 minutes. So that's just me whining and complaining a little bit, but I'm sure I've got it better than the Olympic Village.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. Nothing says world-class athlete like making them sleep like a 2-year-old. Yeah.
Can your guys at the warehouse ship me a mattress for the rest of this thing?
Tom Curl's like, we just got an endorsement from Sam Farnsworth.
Tom's on it right now.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out. All right.
They got a boom deal coming your way.
Sam, we appreciate it. We'll chat with you again in a couple days here, man.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys.
There you go. Sam Farnsworth, everybody. Got it all figured out. Oh, see, in the next conversation, we can talk about food. Because I want to do a solid 20 minutes on the food situation.
We got a lot of stuff we'll hit while he's out there.
We'll have all that. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Appreciate Sam taking some time out. And for the entire KSL 5, KSL News Radio, KSL team that's out there in Paris. And it's a fun deal to be able to follow this thing. You can do it. Go online. Find it wherever. Go to KSLTV.com. Go to KSLNewsRadio.com. You can find all the updates of all the things going on across the board from our KSL team over there in Paris. All right. We'll take the break. We'll come back. I've got some audio you want to hear on the way back. I just played it for JJ right before the show. I probably should have just left it. But DeShaun Foster taking over for Chip Kelly at UCLA. You've got to hear what he said at Big Ten Media Day if you haven't already, because he's getting beat up over it. But I've got a lot of questions. So stay right here at 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Oh, my goodness. Full disclosure, Sam Farnsworth just revealed to us that the phone dropping wasn't the entire truth as to why he was a little bit distracted. If he'll allow me to tell this story, he went out on the balcony at his hotel. Now, again, like I said, this is close to midnight now. We're 11:40 almost, Parisian time, okay? And he just revealed this. He goes, sorry, the phone was dropping. I went back on the balcony to get better reception, and there was a couple out on the balcony next to him that was getting hot and heavy. And he said, I didn't notice him at first, and then I was taken aback, like, oh. And JJ asked the right question. Why didn't we get the play-by-play?
Sam's on the mic right now.
But you know what? Wouldn't expect anything different out of France. You know what I mean? Like, you said it right. It was like, well, that's the European way, I guess.
I mean, they urinate outdoors, right?
He mentioned too. They have.
We saw the pictures.
They had the outdoor. Yes, they have the outdoor urinals at the Stade de France.
With nothing separating the urinals.
It's like the old days.
I mean, what is the point? Why don't you just?
I think the idea is, hey, this is a little bit better than just the full public. Because, listen, I've been to Paris before. Beautiful place. There is a smell in certain parts. And we've all been in major cities. And you're like, oof. This corner we're standing in for this picture is not just used for picture taking.
Oh, boy.
You know? So, have you ever been to Los Angeles? There you go. Los Angeles 2028. Here we come.
Everybody listening right now is like, oh, I get it.
Yes,
I have been to L.A., and my goodness.
Thanks. All
They
right.
got to get that cleaned up in 4 years, don't they?
Yes, they do. And they will not.
Oh, boy.
Although, did you see Gavin Newsom, the governor in California, they just did a state of emergency or like an executive order to basically shut down and pack up all the encampments across the state.
Wow.
Good luck.
That's going to take them about 4 years to
That's
get
what
all
I was
those
gonna
cleaned
say.
up.
I think that's what they're aiming for is getting it back for the Olympics. Again,
Better start now.
I guarantee there were some conversations there like, you should probably get this figured out before the Olympics if you're going to have them here. Right?
The world's going to come here, and that's all anyone's going to talk about.
So, Team USA, how embarrassing this would be if we got – now, this is our 5th gold medal in a row if we win this one. I go full we, by the way, when we talk Olympics. This would be the 5th straight.
Correct.
And the women are seeking their 8th straight.
Dominance.
And my question is like, if the 3x3 team doesn't get gold and the big C and the big team, well, I love that you called it 5-on-5. The 5-on-5 team. It's like, I guess that's what we call it.
Have to nowadays.
Yeah. If both of those groups come back without a gold medal, where does that line up in terms of like absolute disappointment?
It'll feel like 2004.
So bad.
Which will cause them
but when
to
we add
completely
another,
rethink everything.
But we add another basketball, this is the first 3x3 Olympics.
Second.
Oh, it's the second. Okay,
It was,
that's right.
the first one was in Tokyo.
Did we not win the first one?
No, Latvia.
What's our problem?
I don't know. That's
All
good. I think they called in Jimmer to fix it.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we fix this problem? Give Jimmer Fredette a call.
Hey, $1,000 by the way, if you need if you want to get the Ralph Lauren jacket, the American
Oh, you're going to
official.
say Ralph Lauren urinal.
Those would be classy.
It's your Ralph Lauren outdoor urinal.
The Ralph Lauren
Only in Paris.
urinal cake. So it's $1,000 for the jacket, the one that everybody's making fun of.
Ridiculous.
The one that looks like that you're gassing up Ricky Bobby's car, also $1,000. That full outfit. So, and they're not. This is not a kit. This is an outfit at this point.
Hey, if you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, that's right. My kid saw Wonder Bread at the store the other day, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, dude, Ricky Bobby!" I was like, "That's what you know it from?" I just know it from as being friggin' Wonder Bread, man.
Good thing your kids didn't grab a Big Red pack. You don't chew Big Red, then you know how it goes.
Well, here's the deal. I was shocked today when I sat down and listened to some of the audio. Well, it was yesterday, actually. But we weren't here to talk about it yesterday. Big Ten Media Day. Coach DeShaun Foster of the UCLA Bruins taking over for Chip Kelly. Now, DeShaun Foster, I remember when he was, by the way, are we old or what? Like, I was full on an adult, I think, watching DeShaun Foster take his very first carries as a UCLA Bruin. And now he's the head coach. Somebody pointed out he was very nervous his first game with UCLA when he was a freshman in like 1999 or whatever it was. And he was very nervous at his first press conference for the Big Ten at the Big Ten Media Days as the UCLA head coach. Here's what it sounded like when he walked out on the stage, because they gave him, his opening statement and all that. And so let's just say he's got to take some lessons from Prime. Here's what DeShaun Foster sounded like.
Coach Foster, welcome to the Big Ten. We'll begin with your opening statement.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. Glad to be a part of this great conference. Finally putting two great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten. We're a school that's won, 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC. We I'm just basically excited, really. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, lots. I got a ton of them. I've got a ton of them.
Oh, boy.
Now, I don't want to listen. Here's the thing, though. You and I are fresh off of, I don't know how many media days in a row, or I don't know how many media days you've covered.
I've lost count.
I've done, a couple dozen. When these guys have opening statements, and at these big ones like this, they have a teleprompter. They can use a teleprompter. Sometimes they'll just go up and they'll just kind of do their thing. But like some of these coaches go up and they'll just say, let me just wing it. I'll do it just like I do my regular press conferences. Super excited to be here. UCLA is a storied program. And then he kind of stopped there, goes 123 championship. As far as football goes, and it was like this. We don't have any. It was very, very awkward. And then on top of it, you do the worst thing you can do, which is I don't know if you know anything about UCLA. We're out of L.A. And then he's like, oh, what can I say about Los Angeles? Don't bring up the encampments. Don't bring up the encampments. I know. I'll bring up USC because that's what you want to do as the UCLA coach is go, it's us and USC. Those are the two teams in Los Angeles. Anyway, I'm just excited to be here. Good night, everybody. Any questions? Yes. Are you guys? That makes me think that DeShaun Foster's UCLA Bruins are going to lose. They're going to have double-digit losses this year. Am I wrong?
No, they're going to stink. USC's asking the question, DeShaun, why are you bringing us into this? Don't drag us into your lost thoughts.
Yes, listen, we've already got our meandering weirdo coach who's going to also make some awkward statements.
We got our own problems over here.
Come on.
Like, we way overpaid a coach that isn't know what he's doing either. Yeah, when you go in front, like, it's hard. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Like, I get that you going out in front of people and speaking to a big group can be intimidating and you get nerves, whatever. But, like, when you're in that position, there's an expectation. When you're getting paid a lot of money to be a head coach of a program, there's an expectation that you could at least go out in front of a mic and sell your program for 45 seconds. It's a little concerning that he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
It's if you're a UCLA fan, you're going, oh, boy. We're going to the Big Ten. We're already going to get murdered. And now the realization that our coach isn't quite ready for prime time.
Let me see here. Wins and losses over under. I'm trying to find it. So they've got it set, and I'm assuming it's because they're I would absolutely mash the under button if I were able to. And if our degenerate gambler producer Jeremy, that's not Alex's thing. He's not hitting the sports book. I'm surprised. Like, we found out that Alex might not even. You're old enough to go to the sports book though now, right? Okay, good. Yeah. Our born in 2000 producer today, Alex, is like, I'm not touching that bet. 5.5 wins is what they have UCLA at. That's
take
the under just by hearing DeShaun Foster. Just know that if the guy can't put together more than 24 seconds, somebody went through and actually counted it out. It was 64 seconds long, that whole exchange, and there were 28 seconds of dead silence. And it sounded like it. I thought he was joking. I thought he was waiting for the computer to boot back up on it, like that was in front of him. Instead, he was just like, they told him he was going to do this, right? They told him, hey, you're going to be doing an opening statement. Oh, I didn't know we had to do that at this. Well, it is media day, coach. It is media day. So,
what does his pitch sound like when he goes into a recruit's living room?
Hopefully,
Can't you just turn to that real quick? you got to have something in your pocket, man.
Look, you go into the recruit's room and you
Is
go.
This what you do in their houses? Like awkwardly stare at their mother?
I don't know if you know much about us. It's us and USC. And they're a better team than we are. So I'll open it up for questions, Mom.
You have any cookies?
There's the part where there's the part there though that you should look at it and go, okay, I'm glad he stinks as a PR, as a press guy. You don't need it. Nobody looks at Kyle Whittingham in year 1 or 2 and goes, oh, he's got it all figured out, right? Now we look at him and go, well, he has his shtick. You know what I mean?
This isn't Kennesaw State.
But Bronco
UCLA.
Bronco Mendenhall is also friggin' awkward at the mic.
Well, he has a coherent thought when asked to say something about his program.
Yeah, he'll go through and he'll give you the blow-by-blow as to why they think it's amazing. He's got some philosophies to roll out.
Right.
DeShaun Foster goes, we play football. My favorite part was when he goes, we got 123 championships as a school. As it comes to football, though, it's us in L.A. There's some other teams in the Big Ten, I think. I think it's more than 10, I was just told. And you go, what's going on with this cat? DeShaun Foster, I hope that the reason that you stink up at the podium is that you've been just absolutely bathing yourself in football for the past, 8 months. Whenever it was that Chip Kelly goes, I'm out, dude. I got to just get out of here. Did you get fired? No, I left to be the offensive coordinator. Okay. At Ohio State. Sure. All right. We got more around the corner. I'm not like making fun of DeShaun Foster. A little bit. At least the comments of going up to the podium and like the SID from UCLA's got to prep him a little bit better. You're going to have about a minute or less, but just make it boom. Go in there, elevator pitch for our program.
Sell your program, and if that's the best you can do to sell your program, they're in trouble.
Wow, UCLA, where are you guys located? Nobody has asked that.
We were confused by the LA on the end of UCLA. We weren't sure. Thanks for clearing that up, Coach.
And the part where he goes, finally, two good brands come together with UCLA in the Big Ten. I was like, is he trying to make a knock on everybody else? I think it was he didn't know where he was at, like in his head. Like he had a lot of thoughts that hit him. Don't be nervous by those chubby beat writers who are staring at you to ask those questions. Yeah, what kind of food you guys serving at the Rose Bowl this year? All right, we'll take a break. That's my...
You're going to make us pay for that?
That was my Jim Gaffigan as a sports writer, I guess, impersonation. We'll come back.
No Hot Pockets.
You know what? He would make a great, cast him in the movie as a sports beat writer because he would fit the mold.
Oh, he'd be great.
All right, we'll come back. We've got more to go. Our Would You Rather segment right around the corner. Sort of Olympics-based. We'll come back. We'll talk about it next right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Yes, it's that time of the show for some Would You Rather. I roll out a hypothetical situation that JJ can respond whether or not he would rather do this or do that. All right, so here's what we've got. Would you rather... Oh, I don't know if you saw this today, but there was a no-hitter thrown. Only the second, by the way, in the history of the Padres franchise. What a sad franchise, right? Dylan Cease throws the second no-hitter in Padres history.
How did his elbow not blow up in the eighth when they didn't pull him after the seventh?
Oh!
I thought that was a new thing.
I know. It was like Nolan Ryan throws 287 pitches and then pitches 2 days later, And, Dylan Cease throws a second no-hitter in Padres history. So, he did it against the Nationals. My question is, would you rather throw a no-hitter? Or would you rather score 50 in an NBA game?
Throw a no-hitter.
Really? That surprises me.
Well, let me say this. There was 20 50-game or 50-point games last year in the NBA.
Okay.
One of them was by Malachi Flynn.
Love that guy.
So scoring in the NBA is so inflated now that Malachi Flynn can score 50 in an NBA game.
There was a couple 70-point games this year, wasn't there?
There was.
You had
Luka had 73 and Joel Embiid had 70.
Right.
Devin Booker had a 62. Karl Anthony Towns 62.
Has Donovan Mitchell had a 60-point game?
He's had a 70-point game.
That's what it was. He had a 70 exactly point game.
Yes, and so was Damian Lillard. So 50 in the NBA, not quite at what it was 20 years ago. But of course, neither is the no-hitter.
But see, 70. But that's the thing now is that 70 feels like the comparison should be throw a perfect game or score 70.
I agree with that one.
Because perfect game is very different from a no-hitter.
But even no-hitters today are rare because with analytics combined with the need to protect pitchers from overuse of their elbow, they're pulling guys after the 7th inning. Paul Skeens had a no-hitter after 7. They pulled him. He was going to get a no-hitter.
Did you see Skeens had his first loss of his career and gave up 2 runs over 8 1/3?
Jeez.
Come on, Pirates. Hit the freaking ball.
Seriously.
Give your guy a shot, man. Yeah, so, okay.
Yeah, a no-hitter's even more difficult now than it was 10 years ago because they're just not letting guys pitch that long. So that'd be my choice.
Beat UCLA in the Rose Bowl? I mean,
how are they getting there?
I'm saying the location.
Okay.
Beat UCLA in the Rose Bowl or beat... I got to think this one out.
Everyone beats UCLA in the Rose Bowl.
I was just going to say, Indiana's
Even
head coach...
Rutgers.
This came up because Indiana's head coach, Kurt Cignetti, said, yeah, we're just going to go to an old stadium to kick somebody's A. We're not going on a cruise ship or a tour.
They'll probably do that.
How about Indiana talking trash to UCLA?
You know things are rough with the Bruins when even the Hoosiers are talking trash.
Football rolling up and going, yeah, man, you got nothing on us.
Wow. That is the lowest of the low.
I'm trying to think what a comparable would be. Part of the thing is I don't know what the names of the stadiums are outside of, Penn State. You got the Horseshoe at Ohio State. You got the big house with Michigan. After that, I don't know any of the stadiums.
Well, after that, there's not really any that are really that impressive.
Northwestern plays at, I think, the same field my high school played at. But they're upgrading the facilities. It does look like a high school game when you go out and watch Northwestern play at that stadium, by the way. Anyway. Okay. Would you rather throw a no-hitter or throw for 400 yards in an NFL game? That also feels a little bit like there'd be more of those instances, but I'm not going to say throw 500 yards because it's not like you just – okay.
Throw a no-hitter probably. It's because it's historic. Whenever you throw a no-hitter, it goes down in history. How many quarterbacks have thrown 400 yards in a game?
All right, how about this?
But just the fact of being an NFL quarterback and having the ability to throw 400, that's a different question.
Okay, how about this? Win a bronze medal in table tennis at the Paris Olympics or win the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Table tennis because I don't have to puke when it's done.
Oh, don't you want to be a winner? Come on.
Oh, hey.
Bronze is not a winner, bro.
It's a medal.
Bust the BCS.
What do you win for the hot dog eating contest?
I think they give you $1 million. No, not dollars. I think you get some money, though.
You get your gallbladder removed? What's your reward
More
for
people
winning
are
that?
watching that than they are watching the bronze medal match in table tennis.
That's fair.
Bust the BCS or be the first big upset in college football playoff expanded history. The expanded new playoff.
Only, 3 schools know what it was like to bust the BCS? Well, Hawaii did it too.
Timmy Chang.
Don't forget.
No, who was it? Who was their quarterback?
Colt Brennan, rest in peace.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Forgot.
Yep.
Wow. It got dark, didn't it? Oh, that's your fault.
We can't end on that.
10,000 for the hot dog win? Alex coming through with some
that doesn't even cover the surgery that you have to remove the Polish sausage. It's lodged in your chest.
It's my 3rd heart attack this week, Bob.
Just drink some water, Bob. It'll go down smooth.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. When we return, we've got a conversation to have about the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Didn't feel like this warranted just a mention in the NFL Roundup or the NFL Blitz. We wanted to make sure and get it to the because I wanted to see. Basically, I just want to know where Aaron Rodgers is on this. Okay, so we're going to come back. We'll chat about the tiered lists of NFL quarterbacks right around the corner. Stay with us. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us, everybody. I just got we asked everybody to go get their family pictures at the Olympic rings. We got our family picture over here. Alex, you want this for your house? Put it up on the
Hang it
fridge?
on the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Put it on the fridge just to commemorate when JJ and I welcomed the Olympics to Salt Lake City officially. I think it was us that put us over the top. I'd like to think that.
We needed one last thing, and we made it happen.
Ryan Smith, I saw his back and forth, by the way. Did you see Ryan Smith in Paris? Because now he doesn't just own a hockey team or the Utah Jazz. He owns any sports thing that has anything to do with Utah. He'll be there going, hey, man,
Yep.
Did you guys forget me? So, loved it. I was like halfway. Can you purchase the Olympics? I'm not saying like from a Sochi situation. I'm saying, can you buy?
we learned that in a little bit in Salt Lake City too.
Oh, that's right.
Let's be honest.
Can you buy the Olympics is it like the Olympics and then the Yankees, Manchester United, like in terms of like actual properties? That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Well, you have to buy it from the IOC.
Yeah, who are those guys?
Who officially owns the Olympic Games.
Yeah, but they're a bunch of they're just some old fuddy-duddies that aren't a lot of fun. You know what I mean? We got to revamp this thing. And then just bring the Olympic the Olympic committee, because I think they're based out of, aren't they based out, or is it like Switzerland or is it France?
I believe so, yeah.
One of those. We don't need that. Bring it over here. We know how to do sports. All right. Tons going on in the world of the NFL as your team is getting ready for the season. I met a Chargers fan in the wild yesterday, by the way, and they were excited about this team. And I was like, temper your expectations, because Jim Harbaugh, that was the thing. He's like, oh, I'm excited about Harbaugh. And I thought, you know what? You got a good head coach. Can't deny that the guy's not a good coach, JJ. I mean,
no,
really.
He wins.
He wins wherever he shows up. And Justin Herbert, you and I both like that guy.
A lot.
And he's a good quarterback.
Top 10 in the league.
Awesome. Problem is they don't have really great wideouts. Their running back core is not good. And so I don't know if it's going to be a minute. So even if you're like a quarterback who's pretty darn good, you know, there's a little bit more to it than just that. I mean, ask and on the flip side, you got a bunch of really good wideouts, you got a good quarterback, you got to have a good system, right? Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. It's packed full of protein. Go check it out in the refrigerated section at your Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other grocers in the refrigerated section. Let's get things kicked off, though, officially. We'll get to the cut. We'll jump in and we'll chat about these quarterbacks in the league and where they all rank. Jump in right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The cut provided by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. CBS Sports releasing their top list of quarterbacks in the NFL. And these days, JJ, the way you get extra clicks, you got to have tiers. What was the most obnoxious tiering system we saw? There was like a 13-tier system of like college football programs, and they named all of them different. And it was like
too much.
At some point, you're like, each one had like 7 teams in it, and you're like, okay, how is that? And everyone's like, oh, Utah's in tier 2 and BYU's in tier 9. And you're like, yeah, but there's only like 8 teams that separate it. Or there's just not that many teams to separate these cajillion tiers. But in the NFL, it's the ultimate meritocracy. Like, if you're not good, we will tell you. And if you're not ready to be that person to kind of step up to the next level, you will lose your job in the NFL as quickly as you can. Now, they have a tier that's called the quarterback who will exceed expectations. Ready for this? Anthony Richardson, which I think we saw at the very beginning of the year before he got injured. Like, that guy, we did not give him enough credit because we just assumed he was going to be a flop from the beginning.
He completed 60% of his passes, had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Obviously can do a lot of damage on the ground.
Yes.
So, yeah, he could end up being a lot better than some of us thought he could be.
Bryce Young is also in the category of could surprise you, exceed expectations. Threw for almost 3,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 picks, just under 60% completion. You're going to have to be way better than that. But at the same time, when you see, I mean, the good news about being at a place like Carolina is you're not in Chicago, which is funny. When you're in Chicago, you have this insane expectation to be a good quarterback at a place that they've had no good quarterbacks, right? Not really very many good quarterbacks. And Carolina was so abysmally bad, and they changed over head coaches in the middle of the season, and so you have a longer period of time to really adjust yourself. Like, that is going to be a time where Bryce Young is going to get every opportunity to succeed. So my whole thing is sit behind a veteran and get better, or be in the spot where Bryce Young is, which is the expectations are actually pretty low. Like, they were pretty low last year, and then he went 2-14 as a starter. Okay, but he threw for 3,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. I think we could all agree and look at that and go, well, that's better than like Zach Wilson ever did at New York, right?
It's comparable, and Zach was the number 2 overall pick, Bryce Young number 1. I think what really hurts Bryce is how well that the Houston Texans did last year, right? Because the guy picked after you blows up and basically playing at an all-pro level. So that made it even more difficult for Bryce Young. But I think there's hope here. And sometimes you got to find the right head coach or right offensive coordinator or right quarterback guy for your quarterback. And Dave Canales seems to be that guy. You look at his last 2 stops. Seattle, he helped Geno Smith resurrect his career. And then he goes to the Bucs and he helps Baker Mayfield resurrect his career. Can he now do the same with Bryce Young in year 2? Because Bryce Young's first year, it was tough to see how this is going to work out long-term. A quarterback that's undersized that has trouble throwing interceptions. Now, the Panthers were an abysmal team.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't help at all in the upheaval with the coaching staff last year and everything that went on. Sometimes it's about where you're taken, not when. And it may be the situation, not necessarily him, that ends up being the reason why he struggles in the NFL. But not a good start last year. We'll see if they change with head coach. A head coach that's had success resurrecting the careers of other quarterbacks can help Bryce.
Now, this is awkward because this list was made before we saw that today all the QB1 reps in Pittsburgh are going to Justin Fields.
Oh.
Russell Wilson was sitting on the sidelines and watching. And nobody knows really why. He didn't even have his helmet in his hand, okay? So injuries, maybe, whatever, but it's definitely a weird, it's an interesting wrinkle in this whole situation because I think people anticipated Russell Wilson will be the starter and Justin Fields will kind of learn some stuff behind him and they'll be ready to pull that trigger. Russell Wilson, by the way, last year, almost 67% completion percentage. This is your guy, by the way.
Oh, my guy for sure. Let's ride.
3,070 yards, but do you remember that he threw for 26 touchdowns and 8 picks?
That's actually a decent ratio.
What's your problem? Now you're going to Bo Nix, and Bo Nix hasn't done Bo Diddley.
Well, the problem is you were paying him $40 million. That was the problem.
The good news is you still get to pay him. That's fine.
And they still will this season. Nearly $40 million to not play for you.
They listed Russell Wilson as a guy who could be one of those, hey, watch out, he could do something. But right now, I don't know if it's an injury situation. What it is.
According to a report, it's a calf injury. So that's when does that get better?
I don't know.
Is that more of an Achilles worry, or is that? I mean, he's 35 years old.
Did you say calf injury?
Yeah.
Who is the big? Was Mike Conley a calf strain guy?
Oh yeah.
While he was here,
yeah, he had some.
the calf strain was
You
like
always worry about
the
it
ambiguous
with NBA players.
Yeah.
And Achilles injuries.
The ambiguous like calf / Achilles / whatever.
Ever since Kevin Durant played through a calf injury in
Oh.
the NBA Finals, I think everyone's really, really worried about that calf situation, a little tightness in your calf.
Jordan Love also in the tier of being somebody you should watch out for. 65% completion percentage, 4,159 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 picks. I think we've hit on the fact that guy. And by the way, if he would have had a full season, playing like he did those last 7 or 8 games, he would have probably been the league MVP if he'd have played that way the entire season.
Crazy.
Is that insane to say to put it like
Based
that?
on stats, he was one of the top 5 quarterbacks statistically in the NFL over the last 9 games of the season.
Quarterbacks who will underperform. They also have Aaron Rodgers on that list. He was on the list of could overperform. He's on the list of could underperform. That's just right in the middle.
Yeah.
He'll be one of those guys. Kirk Cousins is on the list of quarterbacks that could underperform. Baker Mayfield, poor guy, he just got back to the spot where he threw for 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. See, and I feel like he's figured something out. I feel like he is. Now there is a part that you go, yeah, but now he's not a mystery, right? Because before it was like go to Tampa Bay, give him a shot. Now he's not a mystery to anybody. And that could play into it as well. I mean, they went 9-8 last year. They went to the playoffs.
You also wonder how losing your OC can impact you.
Oh, yeah.
His numbers are great. 64% completion percentage, 4,000 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's pretty darn good. But at the same time, the Bucs went 9-8 last year.
Yeah.
That could flip. And in the NFC South, while none of those teams are really, truly Super Bowl contenders, it could be pretty competitive. The Falcons with Kirk Cousins could be a lot better. I think the Saints are going to be really good. And you look at, we just mentioned, Carolina could be improved. So while that division is always down, and it seems, I think that the Bucs could find themselves on the wrong side of that.
So they put Justin Herbert in that category of set to underperform, and it's not anything to do with him, but we just mentioned these things, right? No Mike Williams, no Keenan Allen, okay?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yes.
You've got a bunch of 2 rookies coming in at wideout, all right? So you're going to be asking a lot of these young guys. And then Austin Eckler, who was coming out of the backfield, has caught 70 passes a year for him during the time that Justin Herbert was. Like that is a very underrated. Like 70 catches from your running back means you lean on that guy a lot. And at the very least,
checkdowns.
Yes. So whether or not you're going to see a Justin Herbert who is doing what he can with not a lot of support around him, or if it's just going to be a really down year for him and the Chargers, that's yet to be seen.
Here's the opposite of a Baker Mayfield situation, though, because you lose a coach who sucked, and you bring in a coach that wins. We talk about the Jim Harbaugh effect. Jim Harbaugh, and he's a quarterback whisperer. Look what he did with J.J. McCarthy in Michigan. And you go back to his time in the NFL with Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco. Even Alex Smith to some degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's had a lot of success with quarterbacks, whether it be at the NFL level or the college level. How much better does Justin Herbert get with that kind of coaching? That's an underrated factor here. And I think that the personnel issues may be too much to overcome. I don't think the Chargers are a playoff team. But by year 2 with Jim Harbaugh and some new additions and some nice draft picks, I think they could be. Obviously, they took an offensive lineman in the first round, a guy at Notre Dame, so they feel like they're getting better at that position. But the Chargers, probably a year away, but I feel like Harbaugh's going to get them there. So that could be a good sign for Justin Herbert. And we could see his numbers go up because of the better coaching.
We'll see how that one goes. I think eventually they'll turn it around. They'll figure some things out. But I don't think it's going to be right now. Like, I don't look at it and go,
I agree.
Because do they finish behind the Raiders?
No.
Do they? So they're dead last, you think?
I think the Raiders are going to be last. I think the Broncos will be third, and I think the Chargers will be second. But none of those teams are going to make the playoffs.
I think the Raiders are going to be dead last, and here's why. I mean, you just brought it up, but did you see that did you see at their camp, they made a Kermit the Frog puppet with a Mahomes jersey on and Mahomes hair on? That's the bear you want to poke?
Ew.
You weirdos.
That is weird.
They put this in, and the players are like, oh, really, I'm Patrick Mahomes. Now, look, we do the Kermit voice because it's funny. We don't have to play against the guy. All right? So here's what I'm saying. That's good news for you as a Broncos fan. A lot of the ire is going to be directed right at the Raiders, who I think they beat. Did they beat? They beat him at least once last year.
They did.
Maybe no, they didn't beat him twice. There's no way they beat him twice. So the Raiders, I don't know. Like I said, make fun of the of one of the best of all time.
Yeah, they split last year.
At your peril. Did they split it? Okay.
They won they won at Kansas City. How crazy is that? It was on Christmas Day, remember?
That's what it was.
They lost in Vegas.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. So for me, those two tiers of the ones who will underperform.
We could almost do a whole segment on teams now, because now I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, who are the playoff teams? Maybe we'll do that.
We've
soon.
got plenty of time before the NFL season rolls around.
Yes, we do.
Although
what
are we? I bet we are not 8 weeks. I bet we're 6 weeks away from the season kicking
almost
off?
exactly 6 weeks, yes.
Okay.
I think it's Thursday night open, 6 weeks away from the Thursday night opener.
6 weeks to today.
Correct.
Yeah, because it's usually a couple weeks after,
Thursday
or 10
night
days.
football.
It's 10 days after that first real weekend of college football. Week 1, not week 0.
Right.
So there you go.
In fact, I could even tell you.
There's no way to find
1.
out, though. That's the thing. You don't know how.
Week 1 is September 5th, Thursday. Ravens Chiefs on NBC and KSL.
Consummate company, man.
Always.
There you go. So yeah, that's 6 weeks away. So there you go. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. When we do return, we've got some stuff to jam on. Oh, we have all that good. I want to get some of that Aaron Rodgers audio. Alex, I just saw you throw that in there. We're going to get to that at some point, too. I don't want you to miss it. We are also going to read off for you our winner this week of the Hercules Hero of the Week. We'll get to that. And we've got much, much more. You don't want to miss this audio. It's Dan Lanning defending Oregon's NIL structure and how that works, and how the rest of the SEC is looking at Dan Lanning, and the Big Ten is looking at Dan Lanning, and they're kind of jealous. And we all are. But you know what? You just work with what you're given. We'll talk about it next right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I do not understand what it is. I don't know for the
Welcome in on a Thursday. Yes, it took us a minute, JJ, but we got to, I guess, whatever we want to consider a slower time of the year. It's a slower time of the year. The Olympics just got announced for here. We are in between breaks planning out what our college football season's looking like. We were just going through how insane your game night live nights are going to get.
Can't wait. High school football 3 weeks away.
High school football's got its own. It's its own version of fun. It's its own really cool thing. Like you think about, and now that and that was my thing. I was the Friday Night Lights guy. Like that was the sport that I played the most. That was the sport that I competed at a pretty high level with when it comes to that, and like that was the one that I had the most fun with. And so being able to watch our high school teams here kind of break it down. And what's crazy is that it's gone to a different level, right? The amount of talent in this state, we've talked about it for the last couple of years now too. The amount of talent in this state is off the charts. Utah is slowly, it's not underrated anymore. It's there. It's in the conversation from a per capita standpoint of one of the best high school football states in the entire country.
We got used to coaches in the Pac-12 coming into this area once Utah joined the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Even more intensely because they realized how much talent was coming out here because they were having to face Utah talent during the season. I'm curious what impact that'll have on the Big 12 because I remember we asked Coach Kleiman from Kansas State.
Oh, I haven't done anything in Utah yet.
We usually stick to a radius around.
But that's when you go, you're in Kansas, bro.
I bring that up because I bet that changes once they play BYU and Utah multiple times and they realize, wait a minute, Junior Tufuna went to where? Wait a minute.
Bingham, where is that?
Isaac Wilson went where? You know what I mean? Like they'll start adding up. They're watching the film of these guys, and they're going to do that with BYU players too. All these BYU players that went to Utah high schools. That Roberts kid he's from American Fork High School. How do we get one of those? Right?
American Fork, what's that, a restaurant?
That's how this works. And so it hasn't had an impact yet, but I think it will. You're going to start seeing teams like Iowa State and Kansas State and Texas Tech start rolling in here a lot more than they did in the past because they realize that these players that BYU and Utah will have an interest in playing for their program more so because they're going to be playing BYU and Utah on a regular basis. So, and they'll want some of these guys because they'll elevate their program. So the high school football here in the state is awesome. The coaches are awesome. And we're going to get kicking off another season here in 3 weeks. Can't wait.
Our Hercules Hero of the Week, we've got a winner. We love that you guys throw these nominations in there. And the winner for this week is Montana Gardner. Montana Gardner, the nomination coming in from Izzy Sierra, who says, "This is my son's baseball coach. I'm not nominating him because he's been a huge help in our lives. He's made such an impact in his life. My son doesn't have a dad around, and Montana is there to help him love the sport and made my son the athlete that he is today. Montana does this for any kid on the team. He makes the sport fun and helps develop the kids. Montana and his family have been wonderful in our lives. Montana gives his kids the skills that they need to go further in life. He's always there for a pep talk and just a reminder that the kids matter. His passion for the sport is passed on to the kids. My son is who he is because of the time that Montana gives him. Montana is always there for my son, and I appreciate it. He gives his time to the kids on the team, whether baseball, football, or basketball. My son enjoys being on his team. Thank you." That's from Izzy Sierra nominating Montana Gardner, who is your winner of the Hercules Hero of the Week, brought to you by Hercules Credit Union. So Montana is going to get a gift card, a Visa gift card from Hercules Credit Union, and also $200 to Beehive Meals. And you can do the same thing for somebody who's having an impact like Montana has had in the life of Izzy Sierra's son and so many of the other players, as you've heard. Normally, JJ, when there's a coach or a volunteer or somebody, it's never just like, oh, they spent time with my kid. It's like, no, they do this for all the kids.
Yeah.
They spend extra time with every one of them. And if they need some extra help, they give it to them. And so that's awesome to hear. Montana Gardner gets that Visa gift card and also the $200 to Beehive Meals. If you want to nominate a Hercules Hero of the Week, let me just throw it out there. Here's how you do it. KSLSports.com/contest. That's KSLSports.com/contest. And you can get yourself a nomination pulled up right there. You fill it out, and your youth sports volunteer in your area could be the next winner of the Hercules Hero of the Week. KSLSports.com/contest. So congrats to Montana Gardner. All right. Dan Lanning, he's the head football coach of Oregon. Remember where he was before he was at Oregon? JJ, where was he?
University of Georgia.
That's right. He was the defensive coordinator for one Kirby Smart. Got his big break, and for all that we've seen, Dan Lanning from day one has been an Oregon guy. He's made some awesome inroads, and of course, Oregon is moving to the Big Ten. However, at Big Ten Media Day, it was brought to the attention of Dan Lanning that his former boss and head coach of the University of Georgia, Kirby Smart, and you listen, you love to see Dan Lanning just scraping by as a young, what is he, 33 years old or whatever it is now?
He's
scraping by as the head coach of the University of Oregon. His old boss, Kirby Smart's the highest paid coach in all of college
38,
football.
actually.
Oh, he's only 38?
He's getting old.
All right. Kirby Smart, highest paid coach in all of college football, gets about $13 million a year. Georgia is consistently one of the top spenders when it comes to NIL. When it comes to recruiting, they're the number one spender. And that was what left all of us a little bit kind of head-scratching here, because Kirby Smart laid into Dan Lanning about the NIL situation, and specifically he brought up, well, he didn't lay into him. That's a strong way to put it. He just kind of did the Southern, and this is a total Southern thing too, where they put a smile on their face and they go, must be nice, right? Where they do the whole, yeah, it must be nice being in that spot. And what he was saying was must be nice having a booster like Phil Knight who'd throw all that money. Heck, wish we could get some of that NIL money. That's the actual quote. Wish we could get some of that NIL money that he's giving Dan Lanning. You get some, by the way. You're a Nike school. So they use that as a huge recruiting tool, right? That's going to be my nickname for somebody, just a huge recruiting tool. That's Coach Kirby Smart. But he said, yeah, that'd be nice. You got this, you got Phil Knight, and I wish we could get some of that NIL money. And so Dan Lanning was asked about it, and here's what Lanning responded to his old boss. And he had a good spirit about it. But here's what he said about reacting to what Coach Kirby Smart said.
We don't have that yet. I think it's impressive that, guys like Kirby have been signing the number one class in the nation without, any NIL money this entire time. So impressive. No. Obviously, Coach Smart took a little shot at us. I don't think it's a serious. If you want to be a top 10 team in college football, you better have great support. We have that, but it's not. It's 1 + 1 + 1, right? It's also the 34 or 300 teams that we went to this spring to visit. It's the 23 satellite camps. It's when they come to your campus. It's our staff. It's our alignment with our entire university that makes recruiting work. I still definitely visit with Kirby. I consider him a great mentor, and I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for guys like that. Kirby's changed my career. I probably learned more from Coach Smart than any other coach that I've ever worked with in my career.
Yeah, I had the same thought, which was, man, I don't know how he did it. Get the number one recruiting class every year, year in and year out, and not offering any NIL money. It's like, of course they do. Mm-hmm. Of course they do. They play the game. They know what the game is. I mean, Nick Saban is almost not arguably the best coach in the history of college football. And that's a guy who would do things like this. He would carve out and he would find a way. When you're elite and you're Nick Saban elite, when you're Kirby Smart elite, you kind of do this whole, oh, shucks, I don't know. Like, you got teams like that who have, obviously an enormous, boost from Phil Knight. And it's like, yeah, I wish we could get something nice like that. It's like, okay, yours isn't Phil Knight, but it's, you own 2 car dealerships. One of them is a Ferrari dealership in Florida. Nick Saban, I think you're doing all right. Not just you personally. I think your team is doing okay. I think you've been able to pull in exactly the athletes that you want. Who loses that battle more often than not? It's Alabama across the table from somebody else. The somebody else loses that battle almost always, right?
Yeah.
And Alabama brings kids in, and Georgia does the same thing. Ohio State does the same thing. Michigan does the same thing. They bring kids in, and sometimes those kids are absolutely freaking lied to. Not just about NIL money or NIL opportunities or any of that kind of stuff, because now they want it to hit the bank account. It's not just about saying, hey, you could get this. It needs to hit the bank account. Parents are negotiating with their kids and the schools that they are vying to go to. You think that's not happening down at BYU for BYU basketball? It's the reason that BYU basketball right now is on the map. It's because they're having conversations that are surrounded by, however uncouth you might find it, money. And it's part of the conversation. And Kirby Smart wins most of those battles. And if he doesn't win it on the money front, he's able to go, or we'll get you to the NFL, which is another big, in the end, what does that do? Creates the idea of these kids aren't just doing it for the love of the game. They want to be millionaires. And they'll do it at a high level if they can be good NFL players. And on top of that, then, all the NIL deals, the NFL possibilities Oh, then there's also the part where you could win a national championship at Georgia. They have all the advantages. They might be beating Oregon. I mean, they might be beaten by Oregon on a couple of cases. It's not because Phil Knight goes, make it so, and signs the check to beat Georgia. It's that they know that Oregon, for as big of a brand as it is never going to be Alabama. It's never going to be Georgia. It's never going to be Ohio State. It's never going to be Michigan, for as much as they want to try. And they're trying, but that's something. So this kind of stuff pisses me off when a coach says, gee, I don't know how we're able to do it. Phil Knight, that's a nice little thing in your back pocket there. It's disingenuous.
I find it funny that these coaches think we're so naive to think that Georgia and Alabama, I'll throw Clemson in there, even going back to like Florida State back in the day, that these programs weren't able to build into powers without being able to give something to their athletes. You don't think that ever happened in the day? They were just really, really good at hiding it. Because everyone saw what happened with SMU, right?
Right.
Let's go back to the 80s. That kind of stuff was going on, but SMU was just way too open about it. They got busted. They got the death penalty, and it took them 30 years to recover. Other teams were doing that stuff. They were just a little bit more under wraps about it, and that stuff continued into the decades to come. You think Alabama and Nick Saban built that program on the clean, on the up and up? Come on now.
We were the only ones doing it right.
Why was every 4- and 5-star player in the country wanting to go to Alabama? Why? It wasn't just because they could win a national championship there. So let's not be naive about that. What happened was NIL comes about and this court decision comes about, and all of a sudden those programs can't play by the old system. And suddenly everybody can. Suddenly Oregon can. It's out in the open. You can offer NIL. It's not against the rules. It's actually good. Like, pay these athletes, give them what they deserve.
Yep.
What's Georgia and Alabama's pitch nowadays? What's their pitch? You can come here to win a national championship. That's good.
That's.
But guess what? Oregon has the same pitch now, and they offer the NIL, and they offer all the branding that they've done, and give them credit for that. Georgia and Alabama just used to be like, well, it just means more. It's the SEC.
Yeah, that's winning a national championship is third on the list. I'm not saying getting to the college football playoff. I'm saying winning a national championship. That comes third for these kids. Even if you said a guarantee to win the national championship, okay, cool. How much are they offering me?
Right.
Because you got USC that's going to give us $1 million to be there. So are you going to make it $1.5 million? You know what I mean? Like this is exactly what has happened. Can you get me to the NFL? Yes. Look, one of the most impressive things that Georgia does, and Alabama's the same way. How many first-round draft picks have those freaking cats had over the past 5-8 years?
It's
you know
insane.
what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what people watch. The kids watch where they go to the NFL. How much money can I make now is actually probably the first conversation. So when Kalani Sitake said a couple of years ago, and they still continue to say, look, when we sit down with these kids, if they go, how much can you give me? It's kind of a non-starter for us. If it weren't that way, if BYU could just, and frankly, if they could do what the basketball program's doing and say, okay, let's have that conversation, then you would immediately see some game-changing recruits coming into your town. And for BYU, maybe that ends up being transfer portal kind of leftovers, which is what we've kind of seen. But there have been guys they've been throwing money at that at least it's been rumored that they've thrown money at that were not worth it.
Right.
That happens at every program, but that's precious dollars down there at BYU in the football program to be able to use to your advantage. And you have to have that conversation. I get you don't want it to be the number one conversation. I get it. It's awkward. Kalani wants guys who want to be there. And I know that sounds very much – I mean, look, I know that Bronco Mendenhall, that sounds too much like a Boy Scout situation. You're like, oh, I only want guys who want to be winners. It's like, well, then you're never going to win, bro.
We're not going to recruit. They need to recruit us.
We feel like that their spiritual growth is just as important.
Imagine trying to use that technique in
That's
2024.
2004, man.
Yeah.
That is old.
Times have changed.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Bronco, sorry, man. You're just
You didn't need to throw Bronco under the bus there at the end. Jeez.
But you and I both sat in front of that dude.
He's trying to adapt.
We've both been in front of that guy. Man. And you know what's funny now is that he's having these conversations. He's having NIL money conversations.
He's had to adapt or die.
And you know what he says?
Adapt.
He doesn't go, I'm not participating. He says, we have to make that apart. The athlete has to be respected. And I'm like, wow, how things have changed. Good. And I hope he does. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Around the corner, we've got ourselves a conversation to have about the NBA, the newest NBA contract. Yay, TNT. Remember, we're all excited about them coming back? About that. We'll have an update for you. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Turkey or BLT sandwiches, and you'll understand why we say JCW's, quality, and a lot of it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the biggest name. You're locked into JJ and Alex. With the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Alex Keary, Jeremiah Jensen, together we make up the radio program called JJ and Alex. There you go. Hey, coming up in about 10 minutes-ish, our guy Mitch Harper is going to join us. Of course, we were having these discussions about money and athletes, and I'm going to ask Mitch about. Well, we were going to have a media availability from Coach Kevin Young today from BYU. That got abruptly canceled, didn't it? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. I'm not sure why.
A little bump. It happens. So we'll get down to the bottom of that with Mitch Harper on BYU's efforts to make that basketball program go to that next level, and if football feels like they need. Or if they should follow that same, blueprint, or if that's even possible down at BYU to be able to do it. We'll get into it with Mitch Harper. Get into it makes it sound like we're going to fight about it, which, I'm not above that.
Why not?
I'll do it.
Let's spice things
Mitch
up.
is mostly agreeable, so it's going to be a little bit difficult in that sense. He and I have been friends for a long time. That will also make it more difficult. But isn't that the time you fight with people is when they're your friends?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You probably had your biggest fights with your brother or sister.
Yeah, hey, add Mitch Harper to the list. I'll do it right now.
I'll box you right in the nose, Mitch Harper.
I was the youngest. You know what's funny is I noticed this too. When my older sons start going after my younger sons, I get extremely territorial. And it's 1,000% based
triggered.
Yeah, man. I was that youngest sibling fighting for my life in there, man. So I know what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but I literally almost died just from being farted on. just the covered wagons that I was unable to get out of. I really thought I was going to die under a blanket.
You need to talk to somebody. You really do.
Oh my goodness.
You need to get help.
I'll see my sons getting harassed by the older boys, and you ask my wife, there's very little that gets me more mad than when I see them going after the younger siblings. And I'm like, this is 1,000% is because I'm the youngest sibling. There you go. The media rights deal for the NBA has been locked up. The Board of Governors last week approved the $76 billion 11-year. Am I reading that right?
Yes.
$76 billion over 11 years. They're breaking it up between Disney, NBC, Amazon Prime Video. And, of course, TNT was in the mix. They were going to carve out the $1.8 billion a year to try to get the Amazon Prime chunk of that, which, by the way, now you look at it and you go, oh, $76 billion? And TNT was just like, please, sir, can we get the $1.8 billion deal over the next 11 years? I'll tell you what happened. The NBA said, appreciate you, and moved right on. So TNT matches it. Turner matches it. And then the NBA goes, we've actually got these new friends that we hang out with over here.
We're good with our new girlfriend.
Right. Which
We're
is
good.
weird, right? I mean,
good.
like,
we had
in
a
the
good
end,
time, but really enjoyed that Inside the NBA
Right.
show. But I'm dating somebody else now, and
That's what's
I'm
crazy.
having a lot more fun.
The 2024-2025 season will be the last season that TNT, after almost 4 decades of carrying the NBA, will carry it. And they said no. Now, TNT's going after the NBA, saying, our lawyers tell us to tell you to call your lawyers because we made a matching offer and the contract, you didn't read it right. We're able to match it, and then you're supposed to honor it. And the NBA has already ignored them. They've already ignored that call and that text.
So TNT thought they were in restricted free agency, and the NBA says, no, we're unrestricted. And take a leap.
Essentially, yes.
If that's to use a basketball reference.
Which is a bummer. But at the same time, I was thinking about it, and I was like, if the only thing they bring to the table is inside the NBA, which is fun, if you're TNT, you got to go, hey, look, it's not actually worth – like the ratings get there with the inside the NBA stuff, but the games itself, is it worth paying $1.8 billion? And maybe what Chuck – all the critique that Chuck was throwing at TNT for the way that they handled this is actually pretty right, because it doesn't seem like they really understood how this thing was going to go down.
So 4 things here real quick I'll run through that
Just 4 quick things.
Just 4 real quick thoughts.
I like it.
The Warner Brothers president who was negotiating this deal totally messed up because he thought he could totally lowball the NBA and then match whatever the other offer was.
What is he, Larry Scott, trying to run the Pac-12?
So he thought he had that in his back pocket. He could lowball the NBA. He got played. Okay, he messed up bad. And now TNT, the entire network, may crumble because of his arrogance. Number 2, how cool is it to have the NBA back on NBC?
Got it.
And on KSL. The nostalgia of it. John Tesh is back. Basketball.
Oh, John Tesh's back was one of your main points?
We are back. So I had to mention that.
Here we go.
There you go.
Oh, you know what? Do yourself a favor and go and watch his onstage performance of this. It's almost as if Jason Sudeikis actually played this. No, because Jason Sudeikis is the John Tesh of that of the skit.
Yeah.
And he looks exactly freaking like it.
Yes, he does.
Okay,
okay.
What was
point number 3
okay.
is this is about the league being forward-thinking and understanding how streaming and Amazon in the future, and Peacock, by the way,
Dude.
Online streaming, watching of games is what the new generation wants, and that's where the audience is. 4, Adam Silver is the GOAT.
Oh.
He pulled what off? How much? For how many years?
$76 billion.
This is not the NFL. This is the NBA. That's insane that he pulled off that much money, and for 11 years.
What's the NFL's deal?
You're gonna see the first $1 billion athlete, and it's gonna be in the NBA.
We were talking about whether or not who the first $100 million quarterback was going to be, and if it all pans out, Arch Manning is on that trajectory, but it would be likely it would be for that second contract, right? That's how far down the line we kind of assumed it was going to be, but you might see the first $100 million a year athlete. I mean, $80 million a year, isn't that what Giannis is owed?
He's approaching 80.
Yeah, so he's going to be owed $80 million.
He's the highest paid player in the league,
right? And guess what? The next big supermax contract that's negotiated is just going to eclipse that.
And you know why?
And the next
because
one,
of this deal right here.
Yeah.
$76 billion over 11 years. No matter what issues the league has right now, they're financially set and secure for the next decade. And they're looking into the future with streaming. What he did as commissioner right here was his opus. It was just magnificent. This will be his legacy. And now he's going to finish his legacy by adding the Supersonics back to the league.
Now,
expansion is next. This is taken care of. The league's going to expand by 2 teams at least. I just can't say enough about what Adam Silver did to pull this off.
Yeah.
If you don't respect Adam Silver after this, I don't know what to tell you. Wow.
So the newest NFL media rights deal was signed in 2021. It was also 11 years, $110 billion. So, yeah, NFL's still king.
As it should be. But
right.
How did the NBA close some of that gap? If you look at the ratings, it's not even close.
No, for sure.
And for the NBA to get $76 billion, you know how they did it? They were forward-thinking and understanding we can get $1.8 billion from Amazon. We can get NBC back because NBC realizes we need live sports. Like he just played this whole thing perfectly, and he's absolutely secured the league for the next decade.
All right. We'll take a break here. We'll come back.
Master class from the commission.
Look at that. That's why the commissioners don't need to be former athletes. They need to be lawyers. They need to be lawyers who have money bags in their eyeballs. That's what you need. That's what you got from Adam Silver. We'll come back, and when we do, we've got ourselves Mitch Harper, our BYU insider for KSLSports.com. He'll give us a fall preview for BYU, the things to look forward to in BYU's camp. You can go over to KSLSports.com and cheat off of that. Before we get into that, we'll probably even sneak in some basketball conversations because, frankly, basketball has been sneaking into every conversation. Stay with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on the Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Our show is brought to you by G2G Bars. It's a perfect protein bar. Anybody who needs a quick, tasty, nutritious boost could attest that the G2G Bar, phenomenal. You can find them in the refrigerated section at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section. Take advantage of it today. Let's get into the cut right here, top of the hour. Let's get to one of our good friends of the program, Mitch Harper, our BYU insider for KSLSports.com. Let's get to the cut to kick things off.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, this hour, the cut brought to you by Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com. For all of your trusted local financial needs. Trajan Wealth. Mitch Harper, BYU Insider, KSLSports.com. Mitch, what's going on, man?
Just got out of Instacare because I got a Q-tip cotton ball stuck in my ear.
Wow.
And they had to pull it out. So,
wow.
But now I can hear you loud and clear, and I'm ready to go.
Listen.
What?
The king of TMI. He's Mitch Harper, everybody.
Wait,
Hey,
we can't even talk about football today, Mitch. We got to hear the story. Like, what in the world?
I think it was pretty clear cut what happened.
What?
Yeah,
but I mean,
being a dummy and you still using Q-tips and shoved it too far deep, and then the cotton ball got stuck, and then I used tweezers to try to pull it out, and it got farther deeper
worse.
and got worse. And so I went over to Instacare, and the fine folks there just pulled it out.
Let's keep going on this. You read the Q-tip instructions, right? You've seen the same pictures that I have. No one has used Q-tips in their ears for, I think, a couple of decades now. At least that's what they lead you to believe. The Q-tips are sold for one purpose. It's for ears, and but they go like this. Oh no, you clean keyboards with them, and you're like, that is BS. Okay, so I'm with you, Mitch. But
I will tell you.
Did you get? I want to know if he got the third degree from the Instacare people. Like, you're not supposed to use those on your ears.
Yes. They did tell me not really supposed to use them. They're like not really a thing anymore. But I said, well, I'll try to pivot to something else then. I guess I got to figure out what else to use.
How can they expect us to not put those things in our ears when it feels so dang good?
Come on,
it does. It's so satisfying.
My favorite was. So when you went to the Instacare and you're filling out the form and you're like, I got some cotton stuck in my ear, brother. Don't tell anybody. They're all, are you Mitch Harper? That's my favorite is when stuff like that happens. So, you know what? I thought you were going to go full, what's his name? Jason Pierre-Paul on us and say, I only got 3 fingers now after the 24th. I'm glad it wasn't that.
There were a lot of fireworks, so it could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse. All right. Mitch, we'll let you off the hook from your personal medical information, but we'll.
I think you probably have the Guinness Book of World Records for the oldest person to ever get cotton stuck in your ear from a Q-tip.
Yeah, good for you.
Congrats,
Mitch. Let's. I've been encouraging people to go over to KSLSports.com and check out the 24 thoughts before camp because now we've got, what are we? We're right on top of it here. We're a week away, or just less than a week. No, I guess what would we be? About 4 days away now, I guess, from camp. When does it actually start up for BYU?
Yeah, players report July 30th, and then Wednesday's the expected first day, and so it's next week. We're less than a week away.
That's awesome. Well, we're getting into it, which means if we're less than a week away, all of those question marks. The biggest one, of course, being the quarterback competition. Is like how many quarterbacks are actually going to be competing? Who's got a realistic, kind of shot to be on that top of the board? Is Trayson Bourget getting a look, or is it just going to be between Jake Retzlaff and Gary Bohannon? And when on earth are we going to actually see McKay Hillstead being far enough along and knowing the offense to maybe be a part of that conversation?
It's important questions, and I think week 1 of fall camp is going to be interesting. I think one of the big things I'm watching for is who does get first-team reps. It's hard to imagine 4 quarterbacks getting first-team snaps when all of those snaps are precious, and you've got to make the most of all those opportunities. I mean, if you really want to stretch it beyond 2, I think you say 3 guys, and I think that third guy probably should be McKay Hillstead. And McKay Hillstead is such a dynamic athlete, and he can bring – he's kind of that dual-threat quarterback that's just always worked – with Aaron Roderick and BYU over the last, 10 or so years, those dual-threat guys. And I think Hillstead's the wild card in this mix that can really shake it up. I do believe Trayson Bourget in spring had moments where he looked good, but I don't believe his ceiling is a QB1 coming out of fall camp. Maybe if some things go as far as injuries or poor play where you're calling up Bourget and they like him. They think they could turn to him. But if you really want to find a guy that can win week in, week out and put this offense in a position to play at a high level, you're going to go Retzlaff, Bohannon, and I think the wild card is McKay Hillstead could be that third guy.
Where's Gary Bohannon at? I know you've had some conversations. It's not about talent. It's about, has he recovered from the injury? Does he have the deep ball back? Is the accuracy back? It's all about the injury. How close is he, or how effective do you think he's going to be, and how strong is he going to be when he starts camp here next week?
I'm expecting him to be at full strength and to be this is the opportunity, the clear evaluation of what he's going to be. So, in spring there were many passes in the media observation windows where they were underthrown balls, and he didn't really give you many signs that you felt like he was QB1. Now, the final week of spring, and I remember that final practice, he looked really good, and it was starting to show glimpses of, okay, maybe there's a reason why Aaron Roderick is so confident he's in the top 2. But, you want to see that arm strength on display because the explosive plays have to be a factor for BYU. The Aaron Roderick offenses that have succeeded have always had those chunk yardage plays through the air. And if it's Bohannon, if it's Retzlaff, they've got to deliver on that, and Bohannon has to look good. And, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how BYU – performs this season coming out of a quarterback competition, just kind of looking at the history under Kalani over the past, 8 years. His best teams have performed coming out of quarterback battles. 2016 with Taysom and Tanner Mangum, 2020 with Zach Wilson, and then 2021 when it was Jaron Hall and he beat out Baylor Romney and Jacob Conover. Those are his 3 best teams, and I don't think this team is built to be 10 wins, 9 wins like those teams, but there is a bit of a trend, and Kalani was very confident coming out of Big 12 media days, and you guys talked to him. I mean, he feels that all 4 of these quarterbacks could play But Bohannon was the incomplete grade coming out of spring. Now it's time to really see what these coaches have been saying they believe in him, because the outside is not seeing it. And now he's got to perform, and it starts next week at fall camp.
Mitch, the running back room is one that I think people are really excited about, but also pretty wary of, what actually could be going on in that running back room, because, Hinckley, Falau, Ropati, however you want to say it now these days, that's a guy who had a lot of promise, of course, tore his ACL. LJ Martin's added a bunch of weight to get him to year 2 and to be a more effective, but this is a conference that runs the freaking football. How is BYU going to keep up with the rest of the conference, and can they have that run-first offense that can get set up for the rest of their of that offense for Aaron Roderick, who had such a bad go last year?
They've got 3 running backs they feel can perform in games right now with LJ Martin, Ropati, and then Miles Davis. I think the 4th guy potentially is a Pokayawa Honga, a return missionary out of Timpview High School. He's drawn some comparisons to, like a Reno Mahe type of player that could do a lot of different things, be a pass catcher out of the backfield. He could be that freshman that makes a dent in that backfield. Last week I talked to LJ Martin. He was doing an NIL event, and, he said that he'd be ready to go for fall camp, and we'll see. Because he's got to be big for BYU. I think if you're going to talk about who's going to be a star out of that backfield and be, a Tyler Algier or a Tyson Williams that can be a feature back, I think the guy that's got the biggest ceiling and potential is LJ Martin. And, there's a high bar for running back play in the Big 12. And I think a lot of BYU fans, and I think, outside when the people that follow BYU football, if you compared this roster to a Mountain West or an independent schedule, this team's built to win 8 or 9. But now you're in the Big 12 where the standard is go through the list. You go Ollie Gordon, R.J. Harvey at UCF, DJ Giddens at Kansas State. You keep going down and down, and L.J. Martin is a really good player. Hinckley Ropati, really good player. That's probably the 15th best running back unit in the Big 12. And I don't think enough people have talked about that coming into this season. And look, Ropati and Martin could surprise, and this offensive line's got to be good. But I thought it was a missed opportunity going to get another transfer portal running back for BYU, because they just needed another piece to add to that group, because we saw it last year when LJ Martin went down against Texas. It was a rolled ankle, and you're one rolled ankle away, or whatever it may be, from where you're digging into running backs that historically have just done nothing for BYU. It's a pretty clean slate of you don't point to many games that these guys have been difference makers, and to now expect them to play, consistently perform where you're playing 10 Power 5 teams or Power 4 teams again. It's going to be interesting. So you got to have some out of left field star production perform. And look, BYU's had a history of that with Algier. He came out of nowhere from linebacker, and then they switched him back to running back, and he became a single season rushing leader. So they've done it. We'll see how it goes, but this is just a higher bar, and the level of competition is a lot tougher in this league. And I think a lot of people don't realize how physical this conference is. A lot is made about Utah's physicality. So many teams in this conference play that physicality game. Kansas State, Baylor. These teams are going to be very physical, and you already got a glimpse of it last year. It's going to continue to grow with the four corner schools. This is going to be a tough league, and so BYU's got to have that ground attack on point this season.
So BYU has maybe the 15th or 16th best quarterback room in the Big 12. You're saying the 15th or 16th best running back room. Like, how is this offense going to find what it needs and be better than 120th in the country like it was last year? Because if they're not, it's going to be a tough go. What gives you confidence that this offense can figure things out? Is the offensive line going to be that much improved? They also had their issues last season.
I think the offensive line will be better. And, I think Caleb Etienne is a key piece that he's got to be a difference maker. And, he's shed some weight. He looks great physically going into fall camp. And I'm expecting big things from Etienne. And Braden Keim, I think, is a potential NFL draft pick. And then you got Waylon Lapuaho at guard, who I think is the best offensive lineman in the entire group, and Connor Pay, who's the leader. You got to figure out that right guard position. You could play Etienne there, maybe bring in Isaiah Jota at right tackle, the Colorado transfer, or Joe Brown is a name to watch, a freshman who came back from a mission, turned down scholarships to commit to BYU as a walk-on. I'm really intrigued to see what he does in fall camp. I think he's going to be a real difference maker in that 2 deep for BYU's O-line. I like the options there, and I like the coaching too. I don't think it's as deep as what we've seen from BYU offensive lines in the last 5 years, but I do think that the top end and the coaching is going to be better, and I think that TJ Woods is going to get a lot out of these guys. A lot has been made about the accountability. Players were very candid about that, particularly Connor Pay at Big 12 Media Day. So I think there's good options there, but they got to stay healthy because I think the second unit is a lot thinner than what it's been in the past.
Does the Royal Blue Collective operate for football the same way that it does for basketball? Or how does it work when it comes to, getting athletes, paid these days? Because that's obviously a massive part of these conversations, and the conversation has been furthered with basketball. But is football coming along in that sense? I think that's something that people, we still hear Kalani and A-Rod and Jay Hill and Fessy all talk about, look, if a guy comes in and asks for money right off the bat, that's not really a starter for us. But the reality is that's kind of more the direction of what football is doing. And so where's BYU in that sense?
I think it got better this offseason because you were able to bring back Tyler Batty, Connor Pay, and give them opportunities to make money and for their final year as COVID seniors. But it's not feeling like that impact with, like basketball. But I do believe the collective made inroads because you maintain this roster despite all the adversity, despite all the losing. This group pretty much stayed intact, and a lot of these guys are tied to the Royal Blue Collective. I think the bigger question going forward will be, will BYU get up to that $22 million in revenue sharing right away when that's expected to take into effect next year? That's going to be the key for BYU in the future. I talked with Tom Holmoe about that, multiple times this offseason at spring business meetings and media days. And he's always said that BYU is going to try to compete at the highest levels, but you got to move fast because, 12 months ago this time, there was a Pac-12, and that's gone now. College sports are moving faster than ever, and you just do not want to be left behind because I'm of the belief that there is one more phase, whatever it is, in college athletics that we don't know about, like the final piece to what the next 40 years of college football is going to be, and you under no circumstances want to be left out of that. You want to be at the highest stages, and I also believe it's beneficial, too, that you got a commissioner in Brett Yormark who's he's making it clear you're going to compete at the highest levels. And, talking to Yormark at spring business meetings in May, he's expecting all the schools to be at that $22 million threshold. So if you want to be left behind, go ahead. But I think BYU wants to be at the highest stages. And I even talked to Holmoe about, the support from Salt Lake about, this just sudden push for money and how it's just in your face. And, he said that they're very supportive. And so when you got that piece there, I think that helps BYU to whatever you want to talk about financially, they're going to put themselves in a position to compete. I think basketball's just shown you that they'll do it in the highest stages. But I think they got to move a little bit faster, though, in football because you got a path to get to the playoff and be in the upper tier of the Big 12. You don't want to squander that opportunity. Don't expect it this year, but within these next 3 years, it's critical to kind of be in that conversation in the league.
We've talked about everything from quarterbacks to Q-tips in this segment, and not one question yet about the defense. The pass rush has to be better. There's position battles. What are you going to be looking at during camp, Mitch, on the defensive side? What do you want to see? What do you expect to see?
The cornerback position outside of Jacob Robinson, I think that's a big one that BYU's got to shore up. Robinson, I believe, is a top 4 Big 12 cornerback this year. I put him in my first team all Big 12 ballot. I think he's going to be a star for the Cougars. Mark Collins from Weber State, I think, is the favorite going into camp. He didn't play in spring, was banged up. We're going to get our first look at him coming up in fall camp. And then they've got other options like Maury Bamba, who's kind of a freak, could be that freaky NFL combine type guy, but struggled last season. So he's another name to watch. The safety position, how they kind of shake all of that out. There's so many options there with kind of different skill sets. You got Micah Harper coming back from injury. He was in the 60 and 60 today. And then you've got, a freshman in Tommy Parasis, who was a star in spring ball. I think he's going to be factored in. You bring back Kerr Wakely, bring back Ethan Slade, who started game. Tanner Wall, Falatau Satawala comes into the mix. That safety room is kind of just fascinating how it all shakes out. I think Harper and Alfrey probably are atop that depth chart, but, man, there's so many options for Jay Hill to work with. And, of course, the D-line. Tyler Batty's got to be a star. I think a name to watch that I've heard a lot of buzz about going into the season at D-end is Weber State transfer from a couple years ago, Logan Latui. He's going to be someone that's a big piece to what BYU does at that OE outside edge spot. I think Zay Banyap from the Boise State transfer is going to be that starter, but Logan Latui is probably going to be, 50-50 in snaps with him. A lot of buzz on Logan Latui. And then the interior, replacing Danny Saili, who left after spring, goes to Arkansas. There wasn't really concern in BYU's program about him because Blake Mangelson shifts from the edge. He goes to the interior, and you've got John Nelson, who's going to be very good this season. I got big expectations for John Nelson. And then Sonny Tuwala as a defensive end, D-tackle, he can do a lot of different things. I've been talking about him for months. He's going to be a special football player for BYU. So getting a first glimpse of him coming into the mix as well. So there's battles all across the board defensively. It's kind of just drilling down the starters and really figuring out. But there's good options there. And, again, I think the defense is going to be one of the big surprises in the Big 12 this year. And they can maybe mask some of the deficiencies at times of this offense because I think this defense is going to be pretty physical, and I think they're going to be pretty stout.
Mitch Harper, fresh off of an ER visit. We love that he's playing banged up. Now, look, not a lot of people can say that. And, Mitch, you're still going to be with me tomorrow, though, right?
Oh yes, I'm gonna be ready, Alex. I'll be ready to go. The ears. I mean, my wife even said you're deaf already with like all your headsets. So it's like, like who cares if you got a cotton ball in there? I'm like, no, I gotta go get it out because I got JJ and Alex on Friday, and I'll be ready to go. I'll be no day to day. I'm full go, ready to go.
Go do the full Trump, gauze over the ear situation. Just go. We'll do it.
Do that.
I feel like we have a Curb Your Enthusiasm. We have a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode coming here.
Oh yeah.
Where he's going to be mistaken for a.
Excuse me.
He's going to be mistaken for a Trumper, and he's going to get in big trouble here.
Oh my goodness!
Someone's not going to like you, Mitch, if you put that bandage on.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to
Trump
by him. Yeah, that's how you get to the front of the lines. Good, Mitch. We appreciate it, man. I guess hit it with a heating pad. I don't know what they do for the inner ear. I'm not really aware, but we'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out today, man.
You bet, guys. Take care.
There you go.
Thanks,
Mitch Harper. We'll take the break. I'm glad he's playing through it. This is the stuff that goes through, the stuff that happens to us, man. All right, we'll take the break. We'll come back. When we do, got ourselves a couple things. One, NFL Roundup. You don't want to miss any of that. Plus, on top of it, we've got ourselves a best and worst, so don't miss any of it. Right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. This portion of the show brought to you by the NFL Blitz. I thought I had a sponsor right there. It's the next one. Don't screw it up on the next one, Alex.
Note to self.
Note to self, don't screw it up. Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins. I keep forgetting.
It's weird, right?
It's almost August, and he has just been cleared to practice after that torn ACL. How on earth did they give him 9 figures? How did they guarantee 9 figures? because I think he's. And by the way, there's no article where the amount of money is not mentioned. You know what I mean?
I know.
In my head, I was like, oh, I want to see how much is that? Because I'm looking at this article on ESPN about how he's finally cleared to practice. And I went, oh, how much money was that for him? And in my head, I thought, I bet it's going to be in the story. Sure enough, paragraph 6, got yourself the amount of money that Kirk Cousins has signed up for. It's 4 years, $180 million.
$100 million guaranteed is the kicker.
9 figures guaranteed. Oof. And he just got cleared after the Achilles. And by the way, how old is Kirk Cousins? Is he 35?
35.
So, look, there you go.
They were that desperate for a legit starting quarterback. They took 35-year-old Kirk Cousins with an Achilles injury. I think we'll see Michael Penix Jr. by the end of the season.
Might have to see him at the very beginning of the season if things aren't going well. Because
that's fair.
And Raheem Morris, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, by the way, says, "Yeah, we're comfortable with that at this stage." That seems aggressively, like, I don't know. It just seems everything seems off. Cousins will take the vast majority of first-team snaps in camp. There will be minor restrictions on him. If you're getting all the first-team snaps, but you have minor restrictions, not very good. That's not a good situation. Atlanta's first practice is scheduled for, I don't know, today? No, it must have been. No, it's next week. 1 week from today. 1 week from today, their first practices. So we'll see.
This is an interesting quote. I know we want to move on real quick, but he said, talking about his return, he says, "quote, that's really how I'm going to rehab this thing to the finish line."
Huh?
Wait, you're not at the finish line yet?
Hold on a minute. Maybe I got it. The finish line's a Super Bowl win, right? Is that what he's talking about?
No, he says the next step for Cousins, Cousins said, is simply playing.
I'm going to rehab this thing to the finish line. The team's all, we cleared you today. Oh, no. That's what I mean is I'm ready.
Look, I love Kirk Cousins, but I would feel a little nervous about this.
I would too.
And it's understated. It's not about him. It's about the injury. It's a serious injury.
All right. He says, I feel like there's a lot to work through, but it's now in the rearview mirror, and that's a good feeling. I'm getting a lot of mixed messages from Kirk Cousins on this whole situation.
Really?
Yeah, there's been a lot to work through, and I'm going to get to the finish line. But it's all in the rearview mirror. Which one is it? When you're at the finish line, usually the rear view, you don't look at it until you've actually reached that finish line. He's looking in the rear view. He's doing all the things. He's that guy who was just in. Did you see that dude who was running like the 800 meters, pulled up like 100 meters short and was like, "Thank you so much." And they were all, "Oh, you lost. You were winning by a lot. You just lost."
Uh-oh.
Yeah. That's hopefully not what you're getting with the rehab stint for Kirk Cousins. Next up on the list here, Steelers' Justin Fields is getting those QB1 reps. We mentioned this earlier in the show because Russell Wilson has a calf injury. What are the odds that Justin Fields is your day one starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And if that were the case, because initially they said Russell Wilson is likely to be the starter, and then you can kind of work Justin Fields in. If that's the case, if he doesn't start the season, what are the odds that Russell Wilson never sees the field for these Pittsburgh Steelers?
I won't quite go 50%, but I'll go 40.
Nope. You've seen the guy in action.
Because he's not what he used to be.
And he's not the future.
The Steelers have very little money guaranteed to him. The Broncos are paying him.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin Fields is very dynamic, and I think with Justin Fields and the right system and the right coaching with the Steelers, a good organization could flip things and turn around if he's willing to do the things that he needs to do to be better at seeing the field and reading defenses and understanding that part of the game. He's an elite athlete. So I could totally see that with Justin Fields. If Russell Wilson has a lingering calf injury and he can't play game one, then it's going to be Justin Fields all the way. And the Steelers are good either way because they're not financially tied to these guys at all. They're in a good spot.
Oh, yeah. No. It's a fine place to be because you're hoping that Justin Fields works out, but you kind of hope that he learns for a little bit at least behind Russell Wilson. I think so. That'd be a better way to do it. Even if you don't like Russell Wilson, No denying the fact that the guy's one of the better elusive quarterbacks in recent memory in the league, and he's been successful with it. Buffalo Bill linebacker Von Miller, you love to hear this stuff, said, quote, probably should not have played last season because of a right knee injury that he suffered on Thanksgiving of 2022. That's not what you love to hear after you just paid a guy.
No.
And he goes, nah, I probably shouldn't have played last year. He says he was less than 50% and he still went out there.
And out of all the Bills players that they shipped off and basically cut because they were getting paid too much money, how did Von Miller survive that?
That's the kind of thing where you tell yourself, we need an edge rusher. You know what I mean? And you think Von Miller is going to solve your all of your issues. But the reality is Von Miller's best football is way in the rear view.
Yep.
He's 35 years old. Yeah. I'm trying to think when his last good season was. Look, this is a guy he's a Hall of Famer. He's got 124 sacks in his career. He was one of the best during his peak to be able to watch play this game. Awesome. So much fun. But Von Miller's 36 or something like that, 36 years old.
And he's 35 and a half, and 8-time Pro Bowl, 3-time All-Pro.
What is that in NFL years? Von Miller being 35 and a half years old as an edge rusher.
It means not for long. He has not been a Pro Bowler since 2019, and he missed 2020 with the ankle injury, missed that season. Then he should have missed last year. So obviously he won a Super Bowl with the Rams, good for him, but he has not been that Pro Bowl player since pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic, Von Miller, give me more of that. All right.
That was 5 years ago.
I know. Let's take another break here. We'll come back. We've got our best and worst next. You don't want to miss it. I've got a couple things to roll out here for you, including where College Game Day is going to plant that flag this year for the very first time. Oh, is the Wazoo guy going to show up? Is Old Crimson going to show up to this one? Has to, right? We'll come back. We got best and worst next right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Smiling big in no time. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. All right, best and worst. Yes, you heard the voice. It's all brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. You got to visit the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. Hey, Doug. College Game Day, everybody's favorite pre-party to your NCAA football game day. ESPN does a phenomenal job with it, of course, and they've been doing it for a long, long time. And they are taking it for the very first time ever overseas, week 0 between Georgia Tech and Florida State, because, you know, that whole ACC classic clash taking part in Dublin, Ireland. So there you go. Biggest announcement from Game Day today, JJ, was that Pat McAfee is actually returning to College Game Day, which has been a fun part of...
You like Pat McAfee on Game Day?
Well, he certainly makes people feel uncomfortable that are normally on the... Listen,
good.
If you can get Nick Saban... Because Nick Saban sits on the same desk now, right? And when Nick Saban has to sit next to Pat McAfee, like, people are all scared of Nick Saban, not Pat McAfee. Tank top... and or shirt off and cowboy hat, and you got yourself a nice little college game because Nick Saban's on that desk now, right?
Yes.
Him, Pat McAfee, yeah, I like it.
So yeah, Pat McAfee will be joined by Kirk Herbstreit, Reese Davis, Lee Corso, Desmond Howard, and Nick Saban.
Why'd you say Lee Corso like that?
Don't do it. Don't do it. He's trying. We've made it through this show. It's 5:56 right now. You don't do it.
They still around?
Dang it.
Lee Corso is one of my favorite college football commentators of all time. 10 years ago. right? So
Bro,
all I'm saying is
he's 88.
I know, but that's what the point I'm making is let's not do this anymore. Let's not do this anymore. Because you've got Kirk Herbstreit, who is basically like sitting there on the desk with him trying to walk him through it. And you're like, hey, he could be doing other things with his family at this point, right? Anyway, I know it's not ESPN forcing him to do it.
Is 6 people on the panel too many?
Remember when they were like, we're trying to save money here. And they got rid of, what's his name? David, the old Georgia linebacker.
Yeah. Pollock.
Dave Pollock. Who else did they let go? Just Dave Pollock.
Yeah.
Maybe. Either way, they're like, oh, yeah, too many voices on this thing. They added more. Pat McAfee, you think he's cheap to get on game day? No. Nick Saban, you think he's cheap to get on game day? No.
No.
So that's what I'm saying is like, you've got great additions. Let Lee Corso do his thing at home, which is, by the way, where he's had to do his thing a handful of times over the past year.
Are we going to see Lee in Dublin?
Oh, I doubt it. That's a long flight, brother. All right, so there you go. College game day, going to Dublin, Ireland. Sorry, I did not mean to kill off Lee Corso. He's still with us. The worst is that Texas had a massive party to celebrate going to the SEC. Now, the party itself is fine. $2.3 million they paid for this party.
Whoa.
That'll get you 2.5 basketball recruits at BYU, man. Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah, Texas has, so they spent $2.3 million.
Why was it so expensive?
$600,000 of it was Pitbull.
Is he still with us?
Yeah, he is for $600,000. I'll tell you what they'll do. I'll resurrect some family members to get him out there for $600,000 if we need to do it.
Weekend at Bernie's action at the Texas party.
Great job, Nana. $600,000 just to Pitbull. They paid all sorts of money. I mean, it was basically just to celebrate them going to the SEC.
Wow.
At BYU, I think they handed out. Oh, what's Utah doing? Because August 2, right? Isn't that what we're talking about when they actually? I bet Utah doesn't even have a party. They should. In fact,
nah.
Hold on. No. Hold on a minute. When they don't do it, we're going to call them out. You know why? You need to show that you want to belong in the Big 12. Then have a party.
Who's going to perform at Utah's Big 12 party? And how much would they spend?
Yeah. I'm trying to think about like famous. The Osmonds featuring Post Malone.
The Osmonds featuring Post Malone? How much would you have to pay for that combination to happen?
I'm telling you. Just the two, just the Osmonds having to be like Posty?
Which Osmonds are we talking about?
All of them. Bring them all.
Donnie and Marie or the brothers?
Bring like there's 10
Don't
siblings.
Don't you kill off any Osmonds.
I was going to say, I think some of them are.
We only have 30 seconds left.
I'm just saying.
Don't you dare.
The Osmonds and Posty. Bring them up, and they're all, take it away, Posty. And he's like a little bit halfway drunk / high. And then he's like, that's why I love him.
I'm a little bit country.
I'm a little bit not here.
He's
right
a little
now.
bit high.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Utah, you better have a party. It doesn't need to be this, but let's get it going.
It does need to be that.
You better get Swoop out here. Come on. Round up the troops. Tell me you got some. You got about a week. You got about a week and a half. Utes, have a party. All right. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We've got some more stuff to talk about around the corner, so stay right here. 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.